Hi, nice to see you again. Hey, as a repair shop, we're left with a lot of optical drives and other parts like that we keep around just in case a customer needs a new one and they don't want to pay for a new one. We'll just throw a used one in there that works well. We've accumulated quite a few of these drives and they just kind of sit on a shelf. And some are DVDs, some are CDs. And they come in all shapes and sizes and colors and configurations. The problem with keeping these around is you kind of forget which ones work and which ones don't work, and we really need to test those. So I'm going to show you how to make a quick benchtop power supply out of an old power supply. We'll get into that more later in another video as far as how to build the power supply, but what I wanted to show you today is how to check these drives and then how to correct them for problems. If you come over here and look on my shelf, I'll show you what I mean. This is a collection of all the optical drives that we have sitting around that we're going to be testing. And as you can see, we all have all shapes and sizes. Some are dirty, some are clean. And we have piles of these things, so that's what we're going to do today. So give me a minute. I'm going to show you the tools that we're going to use to check these, and I'll be right back. So what I'm doing right now so that I can test these optical CD and DVD drives is I need to make up an end for my power supply. And I just cut this off an old power supply that didn't work anymore. And it's a P2 connector. It's got the 4 wires, and I'm just gonna, I looked around for some banana jacks and I couldn't find any in my junk pile here, so I'm going to just bare the wires at the ends and then tin them so I can wrap them up around the binding post and operate it that way. So this is where those lessons come in of soldering, those skills. I cut the wire back quite long, about 1 inch, because I like to get a good wrap on the binding material. Okay. Now there's 2 ground wires, negative DC. There's 2 black ones, and then I'm just going to tie those together and then wrap those around a single negative binding post. It'll make sense when I go a little farther with this. Remember, when you solder, you want to heat the wire up first before you add the solder. I sometimes will add just a little bit of solder in there because it helps conduct the heat. One more here. So coming down the pipe, we've got our 2 negatives. We have a 5-volt positive and a 12-volt positive that work on these P2 connectors, and both voltages are needed to operate the CD-ROM, although I believe it's just the 5-volt will pop the tray without the 12. Not positive, but doesn't matter because I'm hooking them both up anyway. Okay, so I've tinned my wires. I've got them right here. 2 negatives, positive and positive. Okay, let's take it over to the power supply and see if it will operate the CD-ROMs. Okay, here's the little power supply that I've created with just a switching power supply out of an old computer, and I just brought some banana plug females up at the top. This is the ground, plus 5 volts and negative, or plus 12 volts. And I like these kind of banana plugs because In addition, you can lift them up, put your wire in like that, and then just screw it down so they're multi-purpose. And it's a good thing because in this case I don't have any more banana plugs that I was going to solder to the end of my test cable here for my P2 connector to check these opticals out. So I just hooked the ends of these and that'll work great. Now to figure out which I need for voltage, I'm just going to grab an optical drive here, and it says right on it what it needs. So if I plug this in, like that, my red one's a plus 5 volts and my yellow one is a plus 12. So with that in mind, red will go to the plus 5, which is here. I put a cap on this because I use it for 12 volt mostly, and I didn't want to use the wrong one, so I just capped it. But I'm going to use 5 volts on this project. Okay, there's my 5 volt line. That means that the yellow will become the 12 volt line. And the black goes to ground. Sorry, my big fingers are in the way here. So according to this, yellow is plus 12, which I have. Ground is to ground, and red is plus 5, which is correct. Okay, let's check this out. Turn on the power supply. I just put the switch out here. On a future episode, I am going to teach you how to make one of these bench power supplies. They're really handy to have. They're very easy to make, and if you have an old computer that you don't use anymore, you can just steal the power supply. They're very useful, like I said. So I will make a future video showing you how to make one of these. So all the wire's been cut off the end there, and everything's internal now. Use it all the time, it's great. Anyway, just gonna see if this works now. And it does. Okay, we can get on with testing and making sure that all these drive mechanisms work, and the ones that don't, we're gonna fix them up. So hang on. So I've got my optical drive, the first one I'm going to test, hooked up to my power supply, and I'm just going to go through most of these and put them in a good, bad, or ugly pile, and that's the way I'm going to handle it. We're not checking the drive electronics, we're just checking the door. That's the exercise. So that's a good one. It opened and it closed. That's all I needed to know. This one, oops, is going in the good pile. Let's try another one here. The red connector always goes towards the ribbon cable on these IDEs. Yep. Looks like we got a bad one here. Give it a minute here. That seems to work fine. That's a silver one. Don't see too many of those. So there's another good one. Let's try this one. Works great. Oh, don't worry, we'll run into some bad ones. Never fails. This one's an HP. This is, yeah, it's just an HP. It works fine. Okay. Well, that's good. I'm ending up with some drives that I didn't know I had. Here's an old white one, old Creative, CDRW. Oh, there we go. Here's one we can play with. I'm gonna pop the drive open on it and listen to it real close. Hear that little stutter? A lot of times if you smack these while you're opening them, they'll pop open. This one's just dirty. Being this is the white one, I normally would just throw this in the scrap, but I think it'll be a good exercise for us to get in there and clean it up. I don't know if you can see, but right in here is our target area. There's a little band on a pulley system, and that's what we're going to be cleaning up. That's our problem. So there's the symptom, the problem, and the trouble is the drive won't pop open. You can hear it making noise, but it doesn't always open. There it goes again. Give it a whack. And it opens. So give me just a minute. I'm going to get some tools and I'm going to show you how to correct this problem of this Creative drive here. Be right back. On this next part, what you have to do is open the tray to actually pop off this front piece. Just use a pen in this hole. Okay, I've taken this apart far enough so you can see where the problem is. Now, this is possible to fix this part without actually taking the drive apart, but for clarity reasons I wanted to go ahead and take the drive apart for you to see it on video, and then you can make up your own mind if you want to do it without taking it apart in the future. The problem with this opening is this little band here slips on these two pulleys, and it's usually just caused from not being used or dirt, and it's just a simple matter of cleaning up the belt and the pulleys. I like to just stretch it over there and take this out. I have replaced these before with regular rubber bands, but it's just as easy to go ahead and clean up the one that you have. If it's really dry rotted, you could go ahead and switch it out or turn it inside and out. What I like to use is alcohol swabs. And I use these for just about everything. And I like them because they have the individual packages. So just take that belt. See that black stuff on there? What we're trying to do is take the glaze off the belt and restore it back to its stretchiness. 9 times out of 10 this works without replacing the belt. Like I said, if the belt's too bad, you might have to put a rubber band or take another belt from a drive that's not working anymore. And let that dry up right there for a minute and clean up these little pulleys. While you're in here, you might as well go ahead and clean up the rest of the electronics too. That's another thing about these alcohol swab pads, is it doesn't hurt to get in here and use them because they evaporate quite quickly and won't hurt anything once they're dry. So even if you get the board wet or something like that, it's not going to be no big deal. I use these all the time. So I've cleaned up my 2 pulleys. There's a motor pulley here, which you can see right there. And then there's this pulley here, which is connected to the actual door. Let's go ahead and stretch our belt back on. Let's use some pliers. Got the belt back on. Okay, time to put this bad boy back together. Okay, so that method was the way to do it if you wanted to take the whole drive apart and do a thorough cleaning. There is another quick and dirty, easy way. You can do it simply by just opening the door. I'm going to show you how to do that one now without taking it apart. Stand by. So this is a very dirty drive. I can tell just by looking at it. It's been used a lot, and that would make sense. If you look right down in here, let's see if I can line this up. There's a big pulley and there's a belt. The belt is your problem. And if you simply take some pliers, and you can take this thing apart to do this, but I find it best just to grab it right through there. This black belt right here that goes over the motor and through that belt, if you take that belt out just like that, and you take an alcohol pad and you clean it up like this, let that dry. See that dirt? Come in here, clean this out, and then you put that belt on. It should make a difference. I'm going to go ahead and snap the belt back on now. Now the belt comes off easier than it goes on, I'll tell you that right now. I find it a lot easier to go ahead and do it this way than it is to tear it apart. So let me get this back in there now. It's kind of look like putting a chain back on a bicycle after it pops off. You have to get one end started and then turn it so that the other end goes on. And there it goes. I popped it on. I know I wasn't able to show you, but once you get inside your your drive, you'll be able to see. There's this big pulley here, and then it's got the motor with just that black belt there. So let's give it a try now that we've cleaned that up. Well, that's a good sign. It sucked it in. And there you go. So it's no longer sticking. And you can replace the bands with just rubber bands if you want to. It's kind of tough to find the exact same size. It is kind of critical. If it stretches too much, it's not going to open either. So it's kind of a balancing act. But this drive can now be used again and should open. I think that what's causing this is just sitting more than anything, and then dirt accumulating inside it. So now this drive is good. So that concludes our little lesson about fixing up the belts for the optical drive so that the door will open after it gets stuck and you have to whack on the top of it and everything else to get it to move. So I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. Hey guys, this is Steve. Thanks for watching. Hey, don't forget to subscribe if you like this video, and be sure to rate and comment. See ya.